Matthias, let's start at the United Nations Security Council, where top of the agenda is the Iran conflict. Bahrain's foreign minister made clear that the Iranian attacks against the Gulf are illegal, pre-planned and aggressive. Abdullatif bin Rashid al-Zayani also called for all maritime waterways to reopen while referring to Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has threatened any ship that passes without its permission. Its military is also threatening to escalate attacks against the United States and Israel. But as Iran continues to target Gulf nations, the Gulf Cooperation Council is calling for the bloc to be involved in all talks and diplomacy.
The
Iranian attacks, the illegal Iranian attacks using missiles and drones, clearly appear to be meticulously pre-planned, thus reflecting Iran's aggressive intentions towards our peaceful and neighboring countries that are neighbors to Iran. These attacks have targeted civilian infrastructure and vital facilities and residential areas.
But of course, the developments are touching all corners of the globe, and we have correspondents across all of it. We're in the United States, we're in the Gulf, in the occupied West Bank, we're in London, and we are indeed in Tehran. Let's start, though, with Ressel Serda, who's in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. And Ressel, so the GCC is headquartered there in Saudi, in Riyadh. Tell us more about the perspective on the ground there.
Indeed, now the GCC is perhaps the most affected part of the world because of this war. So the GCC Secretary General, Mohammed al-Budaiwi, just speaking to the United Nations Security Council, said that so far Iran has crossed all the red lines, but on top of everything, they have effectively blocked the maritime corridors that are the lifeline of the global economy. And he has been talking about three demands specifically. That is quite, if I'm not wrong, as far as I remember, this is the first time that the GCC is that crystal clear, putting three demands at the table. So the first, halt Iranian attacks. So that is a call to the United Nations Security Council. Doesn't matter what, Iran has to stop, or you have to stop Iran. And the second one is to protect the maritime corridors. He said that now it's Strait of Hormuz, but also potentially the el-Mandeb Strait also is threatened by the Houthis that are allied with Iran. And that will be quite detrimental to the global economy. But so far, for the GCC, it has already tremendous effect. So since the beginning of war, 400 million barrels of oil are already removed from the global market. And that is tremendously big. Just before the war, 20% of the crude oil and 20% of the natural gas, or LNG, was passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Now it is dropped to 5% of the normal level. So it's understandable that the GCC is calling on the international community to secure the maritime corridors. But the third demand, that I think is quite a new element, and the GCC is quite clear about it, saying that include GCC in all discussions, talks, and agreements with Iran. So that is important because before, there were talks between Iranians and Americans. Failure or the success at the end of the day was just related to these two parties. But this war has shown that when there is a war between these two parties, so it is the GCC that is paying the highest price. And that's why now they say, well, we are not going to remain silent or being sidelined. We have to be not only at the negotiating table, but all the process that is going to lead to the negotiating table. We have to be there, clearly communicate our demands, and making sure that the interests of GCC are properly reflected in any peace settlement. And he also has given some dramatic numbers just to show the world what is at stake. He simply said that the GCC has over $2 trillion of the GDP, and it daily produces over 60 million barrels of oil, which makes annually around 6 billion barrels, and 33% of the global oil reserves, 21% of the global natural gas reserves, and 42 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually is being produced by the GCC. That's why the Strait of Hormuz, or stability, of the GCC is not only a regional issue, but it is a great concern for the global economy and international community.
All right, that's a picture from Riyadh. Russell Soda, thank you for that.